I'm just being, yeah. Over to you, Abhishek. I'll stop yapping.
Yeah, I think we can begin. Good afternoon, all of you. Am I audible? Somebody, if they can indicate. Dwiji, am I audible?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Sure. So, good afternoon, all of you. I am Abhishek Saxena from Revitalizing Rainfed Agriculture Network, and I welcome all of you to the fifth masterclass in the series that RRA Network is running. And today we have with us Dwijendra Nath Guru, or Dwiji as we fondly know him as. I'll briefly introduce Dwiji, and then it's over to Dwiji, and yeah, we'll go ahead with the class. So, Dwiji is a practitioner and innovator working at the intersection of sustainable agriculture, tech, and community systems. He advocates for ecologically and socio-politically sustainable food systems, drawing on cross-sectoral experiences to design practical solutions spanning people, processes, machines, and products. He's a co-founder of 10A Ag, an agri-tech startup. He works on developing agricultural information systems that improve pest diagnosis and bring transparency to agri-input recommendations and use, with an emphasis on integrated systems level solutions across the agri value chain. Dwiji also focuses on small scale millet processing, where he designs tools, improves processes, flows, and develops training resources to reduce drudgery and enhance output quality. He also works on processing and pest management in rain fed farms and in their produce consults for organizations and groups on transitioning towards sustainable and just food systems and translating technical knowledge for diverse audience through translations, trainings, and advisory roles. He is a member of the Millets Working Group at the RRA network and also supports organizations such as Sahaja Samruddha in Karnataka and Sanctin Kisan Mazdoor Sangathan in Sitapur, Uttar Pradesh. So, welcome Dwiji, and now the floor is yours. Request you to please go ahead with your presentation, and we'll have some polls or activities in between, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Abhishek. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And I shall share my screen. And yeah, there. And let me put this on slideshow. Okay. Okay. Is my screen visible? If you can give me a thumbs up, that would be nice. Uh, okay. Abhishek,
Yeah,
is my screen visible?
it's visible to me.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So it should be visible to everyone else. Okay. So I thought reactions came through, but apparently not. Okay. So yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for joining us. And like Abhishek mentioned, I work with different organizations, mostly around millets and millet processing, but more generally on technology and how we can be relevant in or identify relevant technology in a sustainable food system. And so one of the main aspects of food systems is that it should be nourishing, right? And like most of you would recognize by now, we do need bran in our food in order to be able to get nourishment. And that bran is the story that I'm talking about now, today, because we do use machines, and machines are in some sense inevitable. And the idea of using machines to process should not compromise on the nutritional quality of our foods. And that's why I thought this would be a good topic for today's session. So, what exactly are we trying to do here? So, what we are trying to do is try to understand what is brand, where it is, and why we need it. Try to get an handle of what are the factors which cause brand loss, and also looking at how we can save this bran while we process grains using machines. And then what are the consequences of this? And then we'll wrap up. Now, before we go any further, I have a question for Abhishek. And I just want to get an idea of where each one is, where all of you are on this particular spectrum of understanding millets and understanding bran. So, are you able to see the poll? I'm sorry, I don't see any responses yet. Are you able to see the poll? Are you able to respond to the poll? Is it something to do with the settings that I don't see any response so far?
Responses are coming. I can see responses. If you go to the poll and poll one, you see,
Oh,
click on this thing, you will see the responses that are coming.
okay. I have seen.
Are you
Hmm.
able to see now?
No, I have the poll screen open and
Yeah.
okay, okay. Okay, yes, I have responded. That's good. Thank you for all those who have responded. But I think there's something to do with the way Zoom handles polls, because as someone who has launched it, I'm unable to see how many responses we have received. Let me try to look for the screen where I can probably see that. Hmm, weird. Okay,
I'm able to
interesting.
see. Are you able to see, Dwiji?
No, I'm not able to see. I mean, I have the screen open,
Uh,
and it says zero participated so far. Anyway, I'll hand it over to you, Abhishek, if you can handle the polls. We'll keep the poll open for a few more seconds and then we can just close that. Um, so we'll just go right into this presentation now. What exactly is Bran? So, Bran is essentially a layer of protection. Bran is not there for us, it's there for the plant's next generation. Why does it need that protection? Because the seeds need to have a certain minimum level of moisture in them for them to be viable. And that's one of the primary reasons for bran to retain moisture. And then there's another very important reason, and that is to do with managing toxicity. We'll talk about that in Q&A, but I'll just leave it at this that bran is useful in managing the toxicity. It's in some sense a defense mechanism. It's also in some sense a metabolic metabolism thing. So these are the two main purposes of bran in a plant. Abhishek, can you just close the poll and share the results? Um, and the other aspect, the reason for bran is something like what mammals have the advantage of using mother's milk. It's a similar function that bran, uh, what do you say, serves in plants. Now, the
can
Mhm.
Dwiji, I've
Yeah,
shared the results.
okay, cool.
E-
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had 24 out of 27 responding. And yeah, so that's true. I mean, bran is not just in millets, it's present in almost all other cereal grains. And actually, it's even present in dicots, but we don't call them as bran in dicots. It's got a very different structure. And now, the response to the second question is very interesting. I hope all of you are able to see the poll results as well. The nutrition in grains is spread evenly throughout the grain. Well, that's not actually true. We'll come to that in the next screen. But oh yeah, so there are most of you have responded correctly that it is not spread evenly. But there are some of us who have that idea. So why am I saying? Uh, yeah, okay. I stopped sharing results. Now let's go back to the slides. So why am I saying that the uh, nutrition is not uniform throughout the throughout the grain? Now the reason is in this diagram that we can see on the right. There's bran, that's a thin layer, and then we have the rice kernel, and then we have a germ. And what we see is that inside the husk is the bran, but it's not all throughout the grain. It's just the surface on top of the rice kernel. So it's outside of the rice kernel. And this composition table, almost all of you would be familiar with in different forms. This is a slightly different representation. Um, what I would like you to notice is that fiber content and the carbohydrate content are two factors that we often look for in our cereal crops or cereal foods. And you can see that it's not the same in all the grains. And also, if you go back to this diagram, the bran layer has most of the fiber, it has most of the oils, and it has most of the minerals as well. And that's the toxicity that I was referring to um, in in this point here, that the bran layer is able to encapsulate the minerals away from the growing portion, which is the germ, where we have a lot of proteins. Now, if you think of doctor's visits in your family, especially among elders, you would have heard of the salt balance, and the salt balance is off, sodium is off, or potassium is off. That's because our body is not able to regulate them, and that's true about plants as well. They don't need it inside their body, but they need it for their metabolism. So there has to be a balance that is maintained, and bran helps us regulate the minerals in our in the plant's young stages. Now, it is essential for us to get sufficient fibers because it kind of balances the carbohydrate. The whole benefits of millets as a diabetic food or food for people with diabetes is because the fiber kind of reduces the speed with which the sugar is released into the body. We also need the bran because it has a lot of fatty acids, the oils that I was talking about, and that's essential fatty acids which we can get from millets and any other cereal crops, bran layer. And then, of course, the minerals because it helps in improve our metabolism. So, why exactly are we doing all that we are doing, and how can we make sure that we have what we need, we get what we need from millets? So let's just start the next poll, Abhishek. If you can just start the next poll, please. Yeah. So before we look at brand loss, I just wanted to get an idea of how you understand brand formation and also what factors affect brand. So this question is primarily, I think they are all single choice questions. But just to get an idea of what factors you feel or factors you feel affects the brand content in cereal crops. So please take a minute to respond to this poll as well. Now, I'll go back to the presentation because the idea of the poll is not to test you, but rather to just get you to think about this independent of the information that I'm sharing. And anyway, I'm not going to go into this in my presentation itself. So there are various factors that affect brand quality, and that is not just about um, the seed, which is what a lot of us feel that local seeds give us the most brand, and even agronomy affects. I mean, even if you are using a hybrid seed and you implement appropriate agronomic practices, you can actually improve the brand content. Now, climate can be a enabler or a disabler or a spoil sport for brand content also. Now, that's not in our control, but just to understand that that is also a factor. But those are the factors which can help in putting in more brand or putting in more nutrition in our brand. But actually, what we are talking about today is surviving machines, which comes naturally post harvest. So, what are the factors that affect? Well, the biggest factor is actually moisture. Moisture is the biggest factor which affects bran, and that's something that we should be conscious of. But we are not going to get into too much detail about that today, because we are looking at how we can see bran through the machines. Now, the other factors that affect post-harvest, retention of bran and the quality of the bran is basically impact and abrasion. Now, there's a fourth factor, which is temperature, which is a second degree factor. It's not a first degree factor, but it is a second degree factor. But impact and abrasion are the physical factors which affect brand quality considerably. So just sharing that here. Now, can we just end that poll as we go forward? Yeah, and we can share the results. Okay, so almost all of you agree that a good majority of you agree that all of the above factors affect. And yes, rainfall does affect. I mean, you're not wrong in selecting rainfall, but actually the other factors also affect the quality of the brand. And okay, so now let's look at the how machines interact with brand and what that interaction does is something that we need to be very conscious of. Now, what are the general principles? Now, just before I get into the machines part, I thought it would be good to just highlight these aspects as well, which is how does brand quality get affected by what we do in the field. By field, I mean agricultural field, cultivation process, production side. So one is selection of local seeds. Invariably, local seeds we have seen have better brand content and better nutritional content than hybrid seeds. And we have also seen that multi-crop fields give us better quality of brand when compared to monocrop fields. And this we have done with the same seed cultivated in the same season in neighboring plots, with one being monocropped and another being multi-cropped. And then we, of course, also recognize that irrigation affects the quality of the nutritional content of bran. Um, in most places, we see millets cultivated without any irrigation, rain-fed farms, and that is where we see the best quality of nutrition in the bran. Now, sometimes we do need to use irrigation as a protective one, because the crop is fully dry, we would lose a lot of yield. So uh, it's very important that even when we do that, we don't flood the field, but just use it as a protective irrigation, where it is just to save the crop rather than to increase the yield. Increase It will increase the yield. By the way, let me emphasize that uh, irrigated crops or irrigated fields, monocrop fields, you will get a larger quantity of harvest, but the quality of the harvest is compromised. And all this, we will come to that in a different session. But just to stay on track and be conscious of the time so that we have enough time for Q&A, I want to go to the next one, which is about storage practices. Before we get to machines, it's also important to look at storage practices because, as you remember, the biggest factor that affects the brand quality is the moisture. And the reason for that is very simple. In nature, the bran is supposed to not fight moisture from outside coming inside. It's primarily there to retain the moisture that is inside from going outside. So, in our storage, if we are not keeping it in a cool and dry place, then we invariably are compromising on the quality of the grains, and we are also compromising on the nutritional content of the grains, of the rice that we get out of it. Now, does it mean we don't store grains? Absolutely not. I mean, most of you, if you remember from your cooking experiences, the what's true about paddy rice is also true about millets. When you get a batch of millets that have been stored for a while, few months to maybe a few years, and then you cook them, you process them, and you get the rice out of it, and you cook them, you get amazingly fluffy rice. And the grains are fully formed. Even when it is cooked, it doesn't become runny or it's not squishy. So the cooking quality improves dramatically, the tastes improve dramatically. uh, so storage is good, but it has to be in a cool and dry place, and it has to be cleaned before we store. Now, during the post harvest, during processing, what are the basic principles is what I'm laying out here. We should minimize impact because we want to remove the husk. We do want to use an impact huller. The reasons for that, we can save it for another discussion. We want to minimize the drop. So the distance that our grains fall through, whether as a grain or in its rice form, we want to minimize that. And we also want to minimize the landing. Now, what do I mean by landing? Well, if you were to fall down directly like this, your impact would be much more than if you were to slip. So essentially, when we are designing machines or running our processes, we want to land our grains at an angle and not perpendicular to any surface, whatever the surface might be. Um, Abrasion is another thing that we have to be conscious of when it comes to brand retention and brand damage. And that we can achieve by minimizing the number of operations we do on the hulled grains. So, post hulling, we want to minimize the operations. And as far as possible, we want to use soft surfaces and not really hard surfaces. Now, this is not something that is practical in most situations, and we might have to compromise on this to an extent, but that's okay. I think that is not a problem. Now, I want to share some videos with you that a video actually. So I'm just going to pause my share screen and I want to share a different screen now. Oh, share computer sound, stereo, yes. Now in the share setting, I want to change. No, not this. Apologies. I don't know if I've shared the screen or I have.
Dwiji, you might want to first like stop
Mhm.
sharing the presentation and then share the video screen.
Okay. Yeah. Good. Thank you. So what did I pause? Did I pause the recording then? I'm sorry about that.
No, recording is going on, don't worry. So,
Okay. Okay. So that I have not paused. So, okay. I should stop sharing. Ugh. Where do I stop sharing? I'm so sorry. Uh, I think I have paused sharing. Okay. So let me just select the window that I want to share. And Oh man. Okay, this is taking longer than I thought. Yeah, here. So I have actually put all these videos on a Google Drive and put it as a shared drive. I'm putting the link in the chat window. So, and we will share it over email as well with all the participants. Uh, so feel free to open this window, and I'm looking at 1.0. That's what I wanted to share. No, wait, not this. 1.0 abrasion. So I had asked that folks bring a few things to the session today. In case you have it. Ooh, why is it saying it is? How do I play the video? Now I have it downloaded. So let me see if I can play the video through my local thing. Just give me 1 second. Apologies for that. Could have let abrasion before. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, just 1 second. And I'll share my desktop. Oh, I am sharing my desktop. Okay. Okay. And so just give me a thumbs up if you can see this video. And what I'm trying to do here is take a few grains of kodo millet rice and put it between two pieces of emery paper. Uh, I hope you're able to see the video playing. Uh, Abhishek, can you see the video playing?
Yes, I can see the video playing, although,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, I can see. Yes.
Yeah. So what I did here was just abrade the grains of millet rice, kodo millet rice, and you can see the difference between the before and the after abrasion grains. Um, yeah, so I understand my network connection is not that great and the playing was not very smooth. I have shared this video that I did on the Google Drive in the link that I've shared on the chat. So you can actually go back and look at it at a later time, or if you want to do it right now, I really don't mind if you do it right now. And I am going to try and share this image as well. Just give me a minute of the before and after comparison. Oh, this is okay. There's some issue with this. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's go back to the presentation. And can you see the presentation? Where is the presentation? Okay, here is the presentation. Let's go back to slideshow. Okay, so I was talking about what are the general principles for saving Bran, and we just covered these things. So now let's just understand, given this, give the main thing that I wanted you to see was it's quite easy to get the bran off. It doesn't take a lot of effort. It comes off even when you rub these grains between your fingers or put it on the palm of your hand, and you just rub it like you might have seen people do prepare tobacco for eating. So in the same way, if you just put these rice grains in on your palm and rub them, the bran comes off quite easily. Now, when this happens, when it is that easy to get it off, how do we process grains so that we don't lose the bran? Now, we process the grains by using a certain process flow. Now, the bran is lost primarily when the bran is exposed. The danger to bran loss, the danger of bran loss, is maximum when it is exposed. Now, when it is still within the husk, you have much lower risk of bran damage. And that's why we maximize operations of all the grain processing operations. We try to maximize those operations before hulling. Yeah. And and you might have also noticed that I talked about clean huller ready grains when I talked about storage. And and that's why you see that the process flow here is pre-hulling operations, and then there is storage, and then we come to hulling and post-hulling operations. And when we are doing the hulling and post-hulling operations, we minimize the number of operations so that we are able to minimize the damage to the bran. We are able to retain as much of the bran as possible. Now, what does that translate to? Right now, as some of you might be familiar, grain cleaning is a fairly straightforward thing, but it's not too straightforward either. I mean, there are a lot of factors involved in it. And I have shared this presentation also with you on that Google Drive folder that I shared via chat, the link for which I've shared via chat on this Zoom call. Um, and we will also be sharing this over email. So you can look at this flow chart in detail later and come back with questions if you have any. But the whole idea is that there are three primary grain cleaning operations. One is aspiration, so that you can get the dust out. Second is size grading, so that you can grade according to different sizes. And then the third is density grading, which has two parts. One is to get the pebbles out, stones, pebbles, other things. And the second, very important one, is to take out the unfilled grains. Now, what is the importance of these things? Well, the importance is that uh, taking these steps allows us to minimize the post hulling operations. To put it simply, I mean, that's the primary reason why we have designed this process flow, especially for the grain cleaning operations. And if you have visited any of our demonstrations or been in any of our demonstrations or visited our processing units, you will know that the last one, the density grading operation, takes as much time, if not more time, than the other operations, all other operations put together. And I mean, even the hulling and post hulling operations. So we spend a lot of time in density grading so that we get the pebbles out and we get the unfilled grains out. And it's also a matter of maximizing our return on investment in some sense, because the better we are able to take out unfilled grains, the better we are able to get returns on the post hulling operations. Now, even during hulling, we have to be conscious of how we do it. We typically use impact hullers because in impact hullers, we can minimize the residence time, and that allows us to reduce the damage to the bran. Abrasion hullers are available, rubber rollers, other rollers, and they're not bad. It's just that there's more brand damage invariably. And you can actually see that when you look at the photos that I've shared and also in the videos, just very light abrasion between the two emery papers, and there's so much difference in the brand content of the millet rice. So if you have done this yourself by hand, I would strongly encourage you to observe after every stroke of the emery paper or between your fingers, because you will actually see the loss. You can actually map the loss of the bran. So any little bit of abrasion increases the brand loss, brand damage, and that's why we want to use impact hullers. And then even during aspiration, what would we do in order to minimize brand loss? We would maximize the draft, the air suction in the aspirator, and minimize the impact velocity of the grains as it falls through the aspirator. And this is very important. And we can, I have a photograph later that in which I want to go into this a little more detail. Now, in the post hulling operation, this is where the bran is already exposed, right? So now is when we really need to minimize the number of operations. And we also want to be conscious that we want to soften every interaction of these hulled millet grains, which is our millet rice, with the machines. So, so we do size grading in order to remove the brokens, and then we do density grading. And this density grading we do after we have done size grading, for a very simple reason that the draft in our density grading machines, what is called as a destoning machine, is primarily dependent on the bed of our destoner being open. Like it should not get clogged. Now, that clogging will happen because my brokens are going to be uneven in size. And depending on my mesh on the destoner bed, I have to choose my size grader screen so that I take out as many of the brokens as possible before I put my grains, the hulled and unhulled grains, onto my density grader. Now, the destoner is my density grader, and I extract the rice, or we extract the rice from that. And where we have a lot of grain still remaining, we repeat the whole hulling and post hulling operations. Now, generally, you will see that, oh, we just put the grains back in the huller 2, 3 times and then we, separate out the rice is a general practice that a lot of people use. But I advocate strongly against such a practice. It increases our processing time because we are uh, iterating more number of times, where people are just taking it, the output from the huller, putting it back in the huller. We are saying that we would like to take it through the size grader, density grader, and then repeat, because the first batch of rice that we get is amazingly rich in bran, and it has amazingly good shelf life, which I can't say about the other processes. Now, I just wanted to share this other screen. Now, let me just stop sharing. There. Okay, I have stopped sharing. And let me just open my second video. Okay, so this is from our friends in Sitapur. And I'm going to share the screen now. Okay. Yeah. So just give me 1 second. Oh, where's my Zoom? What happened to my Zoom session? Did I just quit my Zoom session?
No, no, you are still online.
I'm still here.
Still online.
Okay. That's good. I'm glad
When
that
you
I'm
choose
still
anything
here.
else, you will see yourself.
Yeah. Oh, okay. It swapped. That's why I didn't see that. Okay. Now let me come back and share my screen. Yeah, this one. And I'll share the sound as well. Let's see if this video will play a little better. Okay. Yeah, let me go to that screen. Yeah.
मेरा नाम हरिपाल है। मैं संगठन किसान मजदूर संगठन में और सेहत के बाजार में साथियों के साथ मिलकर काम करता हूं। ये मशीन जो आपको दिखा रहा हूं, ये एस्पिरेटर है। एस्पिरेटर, इसमें धूल गर्दा उड़ाने का काम होता है। कोई जैसे अनाज में
So I'm
धूल गर्दा
sorry, it's
होती है,
in
उसको उड़ाते
Hindi.
हैं इसके
I'll
द्वारा।
just give a brief summary
और
later.
ये है हमारी डीलर। डीलर जो है, इसमें कुटाई का काम करते हैं। इसमें देसी अनाज है, सावा, काकुन, कोदो, इनकी कुटाई होती है। इससे कुटाई की जाती है।
जिंदाबाद। हमारा नाम शांति है। जो ये मोटा अनाज है, सावा, काकन, कोदो, इस पर हम काम करते हैं साथियों के साथ में मिलकर। जो यह मशीन है शायद जल्दी तो यह शायद है तो यह मशीन है जिससे कुटाई में जब हों से कुटाई होती है तो इसमें दरिया निकलती है, अनाज अलग जाते है, दरिया अलग जाती है, साइज वाला दाना है तो वहाँ निकल जाते हैं। तो जो दरिया है तो इधर ये साइड में निकलती है और जो अनाज है जो चावल है तो चावल ये साइड में निकलते हैं पार। और जो जिसे कूड़ा वड़ा होता है जो पहले सफाई में है तो कूड़ा जो इधर लगाई जाती है तो उसमें निकल जाते हैं बाहर उसी कूड़ा।
मेरा नाम अजीत कुमार है। तो ये जो डिस्टोनर है साथी है, ये जो अनाज आता है उससे पहले दो काम करता है। पहले तो फराहा को अलग करता है और फराहे से अनाज से कंकड़ अलग करता है। और उसके बाद जब हम कुटाई करते हैं तो अनाज आगे की तरफ आ जाता है और जो चावल है जिसमें चावल निकालते हैं वो हमारे पीछे की तरफ आ जाता है। इधर तो यहाँ तरीके से यहाँ पे कुटाई होती है।
Yeah. So that was a brief overview of the process flow that we have in our processing unit in Sitapur. And the reason I was sharing that is to just give you an idea of what the machines look like. It's not like we have a sterilized environment and all that. You don't need it to be sterilized. You just need your interaction areas to be clean. And we didn't record the video when the machines were running because it's extremely loud and you can't hear people. And I mean, I understand a lot of you may not understand Hindi, but still you could at least hear them talk. So, what are the consequences of using a process flow or processing such that bran is retained? Now, the whole idea of retaining bran is to increase the nutritional content, but this is true not just for us; it's true for all species. So, because it's true for all species, pest management becomes that much more challenging, especially when you want to do it in a sustainable fashion and not use chemicals. So essentially, you need to clean your machines and you need to handle your material very carefully. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that, we sterilize our machines. Absolutely not. It's extremely expensive to sterilize anything. And what is important is that we be able to take all the areas where the grains flow. We should be able to reach that and clean it daily. That is the main thing that we have. And what you see in this photograph is the exit port of some of the hullers, where you can actually see the brown stuff that is around is basically the bran that has remained on the exit veins of the aspirator. Now, you can just imagine that's because of the impact, and the bran just it's oily, it's sticky, so it sticks. And over the day, over many weeks, not days, but over many weeks, it kind of builds up. And that's what almost all species, well, at least the pests that we are bothered about, they are more interested in the bran because it's extremely nutritious. So we have any material that stays behind in the machines is a big pain. So we also need to worry about when we have brand retained, we need to worry about rancidity. Now, why is that an issue? Because bran has oil, and what you see here is a packet of millet bran that we kept aside, and after this was after about 4 weeks of packing. Now, some of you might know that regular HDPE is not cannot keep the oils in or out, and that's why you will see that the oils that we buy in the market are packaged in different kinds of plastic from what we buy the rice in. Now, we intentionally put this brand in this cover so that we can identify how much oil comes out of them. And you can see from the photograph here that oil just oozes out of bran like crazy. That's how much oil is there in the bran. Now, when we have it in its rice form and the bran is retained on the grain, what is important is that we reduce the bran damage, minimize it, so that the rancidity rates are reduced. Rancidity is basically an oxidative process. So the more surface there is for oxygen to interact with the rice, the more sooner it will become rancid. So you do see a lot of people using vacuum packing or nitrogen packing. I think that's not a bad idea. It just increases your capital expenditure and your operational expenses. But I feel the better solution is to go for shorter shelf life, get it to the consumer quicker. So just to summarize, we recognize that bran is a very fragile layer. We have to take measures from our production to our post harvest storage and also post consumer side or distribution side storage as well, in order to make sure that the nutritional quality of what we have grown is conveyed to the consumer. Now, there are some modifications that are needed in the process flow and in the machines. And I would like the last poll to be enabled at this point. Could you just share the poll, please, Abhishek? Yeah, Ratnakar is sharing that it's a good place for wasp nests as well. Yeah, that is very true. That is very true. Though they don't really affect the nutritional quality, you know. I mean, the people who are running the processing unit will be in trouble, but it doesn't affect the nutritional quality of the brand. So the last poll has been enabled. Uh, just to give you an idea of where we are at, or give me an idea of where you are at, in terms of understanding what we are discussing. So please select your responses, and I will go ahead with summarizing in the interest of, actually, we are not too bad on time. So I'll just expand on the questions itself. So, machine modifications to increase brand retention is impossible, is available in the market, but one needs to find them, or it's there in all machines. We don't really need to do any searching. It's not a big thing at all. So that's one question. The other question is, brand survival is best in millets when they are hand processed, is one option. The other option is we modify mechanized or manual process to retain and cause minimum damage to the brand. That's how we can see that brand will survive best. Or the third option is that machines are used, and that's how we can get best brand retention or brand damage, minimize brand damage. So these are the two questions. Please select your answers. If you have already selected, thank you. Let's, I'll end the poll right away because I want to proceed with the uh, rest of the presentation. So 20 of you have answered. I'm sorry I ended the poll a little too soon, maybe. But yeah, so yeah, I think most of you have gotten it. See, the idea of yeah. So the idea of using millets, or machines rather, for processing millets is extremely important. And I'll come to why that is so pretty soon. But it doesn't have to be hand processed. And just because one is hand processing doesn't mean that you will retain bran in a better state than if you were to do a conscious and appropriate processing using machines. Um, that's because when you look at manual processing, if we are not careful, as you saw in the small demonstration, that video I played, it's very easy to get the bran off when you're doing it between two pieces of emery paper and with your just fingers for that matter. Now, if even when we are doing manual processing of grains, we are actually using a machine. It's powered by us. That's the only difference, right? So one has to be conscious that when we make uh, when we make manual processing a gold standard, it's not all manual processing. It has to be skilled hands. It has to be a process that is conscious of retaining the brand. I mean, we could very easily have a manual process where brand loss is more than if one were to use machines. Now, why do I say we should be using machines? That's because millet processing and grain processing in general involves a lot of drudgery, and that drudgery needs to be reduced if we are looking at a sustainable food system. We can't have women, typically women, sitting around and processing grains by hand all day and getting at the end of the day having only about 20 kgs of rice to show for it. That cannot earn them a living wage, and that cannot sustain their families. So what is important is that we are conscious that we don't lose the nutrition when we are mechanizing this process. And as I have briefly shown in this presentation, or rather shared in this presentation, and hopefully you will go back and look at those slides a little more carefully later on, uh, it is possible to retain a lot of the nutritional quality without subjecting ourselves to increased drudgery. Now, there are related stories to this. Why should it be community oriented? A lot of you are familiar that I keep talking about community oriented enterprises. And why is that? And that's a related story. I'm not going into that now. And then there's another thing that I keep harping about often. It's not enough to just reach the quality rice to the shelves. It is very important to convey this nutrition to the consumer, because when cooking, it's also important that the consumer knows how to cook them and not lose the nutritional quality. So that's another story for another day, not something that I'm going into now. So I would like to just wrap up my presentation with this, and we have a good half hour plus for the discussion. So thank you to RRA Network for hosting this session and making this possible, and also to our friends and sathis in Sehat Ka Bardana and the Sangatin Kisan Mazdoor Sangatin in UP, who have given me so much to learn, and who have taught me so much. And together we have done a lot of things that just would not be possible without the other. So thank you all for the patient hearing. I'm really sorry that I had to mute you all, and you know, I'll just change that setting and then I'll hand it over to Abhishek. Yes, over to you, Abhishek.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Dwiji, for such an enlightening session. And even I got to learn a lot. I've never really wondered about the things that you were talking about. Good learning for me as well. But we are open for any questions or any insights from the field. If people are here who have already worked with worked in the context, worked with machines while processing millets, and yeah, please share your questions. You may raise your hands or drop your questions in the the chat box. Please go ahead.
Yeah, and I have disabled the mute all button, so anybody can unmute themselves too, if you would so wish. I just hope we don't get spam, but that's the risk we have to take if we want to do that. Yeah.
Hello,
Um,
Dwiji. Can you hear
yeah.
me?
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Hi.
We can hear
This
you.
is Meghna Shukla. I'm also into millets and
Yes,
trying to
ma'am. We
promote it
know.
a
I
lot.
mean, I am
Yes.
familiar with you. Please, please. Thank you
Okay,
for
thank
joining
you.
us.
So, yes. So, I just wanted to know like how we can connect with you on this.
Hmm.
We have seen three organizations
Hmm.
while you were thanking. So,
Hmm.
when I was on Telegram, I was able to be on these groups, but now I'm
Hmm.
not on Telegram. So, how
Hmm.
can, is there any WhatsApp group or something where we can connect with you? Thank you so much
Yes.
for this session. It was really very, very useful. And we would like to have more such sessions in the future. So we
Sure,
would
ma'am.
like to
Sure.
connect because I got this link from somewhere and I connected, but I don't want to lose the next sessions
No
also.
problem, ma'am. I will send you a direct message. You are from Indore, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yes, yes,
Yeah. Okay. So I am talking to the same Meghna Shukla that I had in mind. Thank you, ma'am.
yes.
I you have my phone number and my email address on these slides that we have shared in the Google Drive. I will also send
Okay.
you a message, direct message, so that we can connect
Mm-hmm.
otherwise as well. So
Okay.
thank you for your kind
Yes.
words.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes.
Any questions? Oh, there is a question. How is mechanized Deki? Now, Deki, if for those who don't know, is typically a leg operated device, a manual machine. It's not, it's operated by us, by humans, but it basically involves pounding. It is an impact huller. Um Now, what I mean by an impact huller is where the grain's husk is taken off by impact because of pounding. Now, in a machine that I showed, in the huller that I showed, let me just go back to that. So, uh, yeah, this machine here that you see in this photograph, it's an impact huller. Now, in a dheki, what happens is that the grains sit in a bowl-like thing, and there is a wooden arm that pounds it, and it is we flip it over in these machines where the grains are the ones that are moving, and the machine is stationary. As in, the impact surface is stationary, but the grains are thrown out, and these are called centrifugal hullers. And this allows us to minimize the residence time. Now, in a deki, the grains are getting impacted every time the arm pounds. Now, in this, the grain is flung out, it hits the huller walls, because of the impact loses its husk, and hopefully in its way on its way out, because of all the force that is there of wind that is there inside, and the suction of the aspirator, we will have minimum residence time. And it's not like it's an exact science. Let me put it very frankly. It's not an exact science. It's not like we have calculated that it will only experience one impact and the residence time is in these many milliseconds or something. No. But overall, we see from the output, from an analysis of the output, that mechanized hullers are actually giving us better brand retention, one, and two, it is also giving us lower brand damage than when most people use a Deki now or any other manual processing. So it's not that Deki is bad, where in order to see these machines, we would have to invest a few, I would say, a few tens of thousands, if not a lakh or two. Uh, with a Deki, you just invest a few thousand rupees and you will have it set up and ready. So I do believe in conscious processing rather than saying manual processing is bad or manual processing is the gold standard. So, yeah. Um, Bundelkhand region, yes, sir, we do want to promote millets in everywhere, but RRA Network did have a Bundelkhand chapter, and we were in the process of trying to get something going there. Unfortunately, the efforts this past year was not very successful. Let's hope that 2026 will bring better success in trying to get take the process of engagement of the RRA network in Bundelkhand area a little further forward. Um, but Bundelkhand is not very far from Sitapur. It's about 6 hours journey. So I would strongly encourage, request, recommend that your team visit us, Brijendra sir, to in Sitapur. सेहत का बारदाना आइएगा कभी और you can just contact me on my mobile or over email and I'll connect you to the folks in Sitapur and let's plan a visit so that आप आके देखेंगे तो थोड़ा और अंदाज मिलेगा कि क्या क्या करना पड़ता है और कैसा चलता है ये. So you're most welcome to visit the Sehat Ka Bardana in Sitapur. And it's a I have also shared some other videos actually on the Google Drive and of the processing unit where our sathis are explaining the different steps in a little more detail. And the one that I shared on the screen was very brief. So yeah. Any other questions, please? We still have a few minutes. We have quite a few minutes actually.
Hello.
Yeah, please.
Hello. I'm Priyanshu from Dantewada. We are working
Yeah.
in millets since long
Mm-hmm.
time. And I'm not from processing team. I'm from the
Mm-hmm.
marketing side.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the white millet, that
Yeah. Yeah.
polished trend is going on. The customer
Yeah.
is asking like, we want the white millet, and that
Yep.
traders are promoting that it is looks that
Yes.
good. So,
Yes.
how to convince the customer, like if
Yeah.
you can answer in
Yeah.
here,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
or and the
Very,
second thing
very
is,
good question, Priyanshu.
and the
Very
second
good
thing is
question.
that
Mm-hmm.
peoples are ready to eat from millets, but
Mm-hmm.
now what the thing is going in market is to soak compulsorily soaking the
Yeah.
millet overnight.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
is it actually compulsory or it is
Yeah.
complementary? If we soak, if we are going to get
Yeah.
better result, or is it
Yeah.
compulsory?
Okay. So both are amazingly good questions. Thank you, Priyanshu, for sharing these. Um, the first question is what I'll take up first. See, the whole issue of white cereal crops, right? I mean, cereal grains, white rice, whether it is paddy rice, whether it is little millet rice, kodo millet rice, or barnyard millet rice. This is not new. I mean, the large scale industrialization of our food systems has shown that it's much easier and therefore much less expensive to process any rice, whether it is paddy rice, millet rice, any of them, into their white, I mean, people call it polished, I call it bleached forms. I mean, it is just made white, it is bleached. The reason it is cheaper is because the bran layer is very fragile. It comes off very easily. And as I have shared in this presentation, in order to retain bran, we have to take certain steps to be able to successfully retain and convey the nutrition to the consumer. Now, what do we do? What do we do when consumers are repeatedly asking for white millet rice? The thing that we do is refer them to studies which have shown, I mean, these are peer reviewed studies. We had one from I think it was from a college in Chennai, Annamalai University, no, not Annamalai, some other university, where they did a proper controlled study and took different colored millet rice and then they published those results in a peer reviewed journal and they showed that the nutritional content of colorful millet rice is way more than that of white millet rice. Now, can we go beyond that? Maybe we can reduce our losses or expenses when we are processing grains. The other thing we can do is try to market our byproducts of the processing, not just the rice, but the other forms, the brokens, the flour, the husk. All these are useful for different sectors. We should be able to build an ecosystem. And that's why well, actually, there's one more reason. The third thing is that I really think that we should be able to connect with our consumers. And that brings me back to why I talk about community oriented. Unless we are closing our production and consumption loop, making it tighter and tighter, as in geographically tighter, not financially tighter, but geographically smaller, that is when we can really communicate with our consumers and convey the nutritional difference between. And this you will see in actually communities who are still familiar with millets. I have worked with a lot of communities across the country, and even 20-year-old kids who, I mean, today, if you ask anybody in the urban space, they won't know millets. But if you go to some rural areas, even today, they will pop a few grains of the colorful grains, and then you give them some grains of the bleached variety, the white millets, and they will tell you that the colorful ones are more tasty. That is because they still have that information. They still know that millets are tasty. So I'm sorry, I don't know, Priyanshu, where your marketing efforts are focused, but I totally believe in, and we are totally practicing this belief, and to different degrees of success in Sitapur, where 70% of our production is sold locally among communities who are looking to buy these grains, and not in the colorful state, these rice in the colorful state. So the first part of the question, the first question, I'm giving you a very long answer. Apologies for that. But basically, don't make the horse drink. You can't make the horse drink water. You just have to look for horses that are thirsty. And sometimes the horse may not know that it's thirsty. So our marketing has to be focused on making the horse remember that it's thirsty and it should be drinking more, or in our case, looking for better quality, nutrition in their foods. Now, the second part about the soaking aspect, this is a more tricky question, because I strongly believe that food is an extremely personal thing. A lot of people can digest things that a lot of other people cannot digest at all. I mean, I see it within families. I mean, in my own family, my mother-in-law could not, stand dahi or yogurt, which was even slightly sour. She just couldn't eat it. And I'm just giving you a very random example, but a very regular one. I mean, a lot of people cannot eat sour things. A lot of people cannot digest some meats. A lot of people cannot digest some spices, right? So when it comes to cooking choices, what I ask people is to recognize that food is something that we compromise on a daily basis. Every day we are making compromises on food. So be conscious of what compromises you're making. If you feel that soaking will help you digest these grains better, these rices better, go ahead. Find the time, soak it, do it. I personally do not soak my millet rice. In fact, I just wash them. I, believe it or not, put boiling water and close the cooker. I don't even bring it up to boil with the rice in the water. So I minimize my cooking time, frankly speaking. And that is because I've seen that my brand retention is actually maximum when I do not let it come to a boil uh, in the water, as in with the rice in the water, rather than when I add boiling water and then close the cooker immediately. Not immediately, but soon enough. So, and there's also this thing that related to this. People who when they cook millets, they say, "Oh, I blow the whistle on my cooker for pressure cooker for 3 times, 4 times, 5 times." I use a Hawkins, I use a Prestige cooker. I don't even let the whistle blow even once. Seriously, I don't even let it blow even once because it cooks amazingly well, even without the whistle blowing. I do let the, I mean, this is an old trick that, I've been in the kitchen for a good part of my life. And one of the first things I remember learning was when to turn off the pressure cooker. That's what my mother taught me first, because she would want to go sit down after all the cooking, and I would be told to stand there. And as soon as the pressure cooker's weight started trembling, that's when you know it's about to blow. And over time, you get the knack of turning it off. But what I have also recognized is that you can actually smell the rice as being cooked. You will have to develop that over time. What is important is that the bran be retained. That's when you have the salts, that's when you have the aroma of the rice, and that's when you can develop the skill. And I'm I don't have a collar, but I'm very proud to say my 14-year-old daughter, well, now 15, she can also recognize that the rice is cooked even before the whistle blows. And that's the whole thing, that you have to reconnect with your food. And sometimes you might have to soak it because of your own dietary preferences, because of your health situation, because of various other reasons, maybe belief systems. But uh, I don't think it is necessary to do that. And I would strongly recommend people to try out different things. If we can go out and eat pani puri in in Bangalore, or pav bhaji in in rural Karnataka or somewhere else, right? You can really try out different things. And yeah, so that's my take on the second question as well. Any other questions or comments? We still have a few more minutes.
I think Ratnakar Panigrahi has shared
Mhm.
some experiences in the chat. But in the meantime, if we
You can
have,
unmute yourself now, Ratnakar. Please, please share your, if you can.
Hello,
Yeah.
am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. So happy to see you again, Dwiji, after a long time.
I, yeah.
Okay, so just a quick reaction. I mean, I'm very happy that Priyanshu ji asked that question. We also face the same predicament. I'm pretty much the new kid on the block. So, well, 50 years younger kid, so not a problem. So, the challenge is actually there is a preference for white millets. That is very much there. And the way
Yes.
we try to deal with it is to, as you said, try to educate the consumers what is the advantage. And I have just shared a screenshot in the
Mhm.
for everyone, and I had about a brochure that we tried to create in our local language also, so that
Mhm.
people are able to get a better idea of what
Yeah.
the brand is and what it does and
Mhm.
how it is useful. So I think
Yeah.
that is, I mean, I just thought this might be of interest to others who are dealing with the
Thank
same
you. Thank you
problem.
for sharing that. Yeah. Yeah. That's
Um,
that's
I,
very. Please
yeah,
go ahead.
please. Okay. And the other thing about the soaking time, I just wanted to get your opinion on the correlation with phytic acid, the phytotoxins. I mean, the
Yeah.
water solubility part of it. I keep reading something around that. I mean, why it is essential. I mean, three
Hmm.
washes, this and that. So there is lot of opinionated
Yeah.
I mean, opinions around this, but
Yeah.
not really. maybe pseudoscience, but not really backed by much evidence. So, what really you make out of it? I mean, do you really think this
Yeah,
phytic acid solubility is a very big thing, and does it really help if you soak it for X number of hours?
yeah,
Thank you.
yeah. Thank you, Ratnakar. I'm very happy to see you. And I don't think you're a new kid on the block. You are a relatively younger kid, but not a new kid for sure. Um, Regarding the soaking and phytic acid, see, I mean, I I don't know. Let me put it very frankly, I don't know. But at the same time, I do know that when we look at millets or food in general, uh, people are not doing things from on the basis of testing. People are doing things because somebody told them to do something, because they have experienced some discomfort. They still want to eat millets, and they have found out that soaking millets helps. These are the two main reasons why people change their food, because they like something or they want to try something, they like it, and then they do it. And then it causes some stomach upset, it causes some discomfort. So they try different ways. I mean, one of the stories that, okay, let me save the story for later, but addressing this question directly, um, phytic acid is an issue. It is a natural defense mechanism of the plant. Now, when you take it as a proportion of the other um, compositions, like other components of our food, it's barely anything. One. Two, we don't eat millet rice by itself. We eat it along with other things. Now, there is a lot of chemistry that happens when you eat food with, or one item with another item. And that's why we have all these various combinations that we often hear about, right? So, like, you cook certain meats with certain spices, you cook certain vegetables with certain spices. You Whenever you eat this thing, you try to have dahi for sure. Whenever you are eating this, make sure you don't eat dahi. A lot of such conventional wisdom is there. So I don't want to discard or, uh, you know, I don't want to disrespect any such beliefs or wisdom. I just like to try out different things. I really don't think food is a life and death, decision. It is a matter of understanding my body and my nutritional requirements. And of course, given the constraints of time and space and all the other resources that we need, that we have. So, within that framework, please try out different things. And it could be because of phytic acid, or it could be because of some other reason. It really doesn't matter. What really matters is that you try out different ways of eating. So, I have had folks who have told me that they cannot digest kodo millet. And my first question to them is, have you separated out the factors that helps you identify that it is actually kodo millet and not something else that upset your stomach that day? And after that question, then my next question is, did you try it in a different form? Right? Uh, and another question that I ask is, if it was a sudden change, was it a gradual change or a sudden change? So one of the things that I recommend for people transitioning to including millets in their diets is to put some millet rice and some paddy rice and cook them together, rather than doing 100% millet rice. Transition to, say, 10%, 20%, 40%, 60%, and so on, to 100% millet rice, because I do feel that there is a need to have diversity in our foods. It's not good to just use only one type of millet or only millets for that matter. It's good to eat different cereal grains, including paddy rice, but at the same time, paddy rice where the bran is retained. So, what we call as brown rice or red rice or any of these other colorful paddy rices, or for that matter, whether it is wheat or barley or oats or any other grains that you can find, please include them in your diets rather than using only one cereal grain in your as your staple food. Um, yeah, I think that should be good. We have a few more minutes before I think we can take one or two more questions or comments if there are any.
Any more questions, or
Sorry,
does
can I
anyone?
have a follow-up question, or am I being too
Please,
greedy?
Sure, sure.
please.
Please.
Yeah. So, Dwijendra, one question here was, would you consider
Mhm.
fermentation as a healthier option? I mean, which
Oh, thank you so much for that question because I was going there, but I thought it would take too much time and I stopped. Uh, Fermentation is making things easier on your stomach, period. Okay.
Right.
Uh, what does fermentation do? Fermentation essentially breaks down. I mean, we have another species. We are smart people. Humans are, well, we are not the only smart ones on the planet, but we are also smart, right? So, a long time ago, we discovered that digesting milk can be a challenge. So, let's just put some bacteria in it, which will culture it and give us dahi, which will be so much nicer on our stomach and for our digestive system. We discovered that when we do this with a different culture with yeast, we can actually bake bread, and that is so much nicer, or make batura with it and various forms of bread, right? And we also discovered that we can use a different type of culture in order to ferment it to make idli or dosa or amli, which is a kind of fermented porridge. Now, any of these forms are so much more easier to digest than the raw form of that grain. Now, it's also good because these cultures are very, they provide what is called probiotics, but those probiotics happen only when you are eating those foods raw. When you bake it or when you fry it or when you steam it, you don't really get the probiotic component. You get the probiotic component when you have it like amli, where you don't heat up the fermented stuff, right? So just giving you an example. So there is a there is an additional advantage of having fermented stuff without cooking it. And don't do it with all fermented stuff. I'm specifically talking about amli here. And we have actually seen amli do wonders for people, um, where and I'm not even talking of the examples that Dr. Khader shares. I'm talking of rural people in UP where they have lost the tradition of drinking this fermented porridge, but this is still around in in good parts of Tamil Nadu, in a lot of parts of Odisha, rural Odisha. So fermented foods are good for most people. There is there are a few people here and there. There is a small slice of the population which cannot digest fermented products also. So while I say it is very nutritious and it makes things a lot easier to digest, there might be some who might actually have diarrhea because they had some fermented food. So with that caveat, I would strongly recommend that if somebody comes to you and says, I'm not able to digest this, do ask them to try the fermented form, and let's understand each other better and keep exploring. Yeah. Over to you, Abhishek, to wrap up the session.
Sure. So if there are no more questions or things to share, let's bring this wonderful learning evening to an end. And very briefly, thanks to Dwiji to agree to, uh, be there for this masterclass. We are actually running this masterclass as a kind of a fortnightly thing, and so please be on the lookout for other such announcements. With Dwiji also, we have in plan. It's actually a series, so we may actually go into the details of processing, and then may ultimately end up understanding the benefits of shorter supply chains, and uh, you know how it supports the local economy, and maybe a few other topics. So please be on the lookout for RRA Network's announcements for master classes. Thank you all of you for joining today. And with this, I bring to this session to an end. Yeah.
Yeah, Abhishek,
Yes.
just a last thing. I mean, people who have participated today, they can actually follow us on our social media to
Sure.
be
Yeah.
updated about the series, series and other things. I mean, we have a set of masterclasses as well as webinars and podcasts. So please do follow us.
Yeah. Look
Thank
for
you.
revitalizing rain-fed agriculture in LinkedIn as well as on Insta. And yeah, we'll keep sharing any updates on any of the sessions, future sessions. Sakshi, if you want to add something also, you may want to add, and then
I
we'll
was just
close.
hoping if people could switch on their cameras and we could take a picture. Hi, Dwiji. Very nice session.
Thank you. Yeah,
I'm
thank you,
glad
everyone.
I
And yeah,
attended it
it would
after
be good to
a
have a
really long
screenshot.
time. Sorry?
Sure,
I
why
said,
not? So request everybody to please switch on your cameras for like maybe 10 seconds. We'll just take a picture. Sakshi, would you be able to do that? I'm a bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. Hey, Pete is also here. Nice to see you, Pete.
Hi, Peter. How are you?
Good, good.
Yeah.
Everybody knows
Well,
Peter.
Playing with
yeah,
machine.
yeah. We should do a session with you, Peter.
Exactly.
Okay,
That's
thank you,
what
everyone. Good to see you all, and hope to reconnect with you. We will share the resources on the Google Drive, and we'll share it over email. And feel free to use it wherever you want. And thank you again. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Have a good day. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.